buddy?
How's it going, y'all? We're back.
Person podcasts.
Because, we're the two people in the group that is actually educated on this topic. I'm just joking.
Exactly.
Camden knows some of his way around this band, but I think we can safely say that you and I have followed the band a little bit more passionately and a bit more closely than the remaining members of the group.
Yeah, and we're here to go through their entire discography and really just explain to you guys why you should listen to Weezer. We're always gushing about Green Day on this channel, and Weezer is another one that's right there with them. So
same time period, basically.
Same time period. I mean, both of these bands blew up in the exact same year. So
yes,
it's very interesting to see how their pathways have diverged. And what's really special is both of these bands are still going to this day, with the same members, the key members at least. And Weezer has a very up and down discography, a very big roller coaster, and that's part of the charm.
Exactly. I mean, like, whether you know Weezer from the song Beverly Hills or from the Africa Toto cover that they did in 2018, or even something from the Blue Album like Buddy Holly or the Sweater Song, I think what's interesting about the band is that they're still such a cultural force all these years later, and for different reasons. There's different parts of their career, different parts in their discography that brought out certain qualities in their music that was able to appeal to the market at that time, and that's pretty impressive. Like that for a rock band, especially in the early 90s, like that's pretty cool. And I know Green Day is one of them, but that's why they're compared.
Exactly. So let's begin this journey of going through their entire discography, given our opinions of the albums and also the general reaction that the albums had and what general Weezer community reacts to them. Because I feel like me and you, we have a lot of similarities to the rest of the Weezer community in terms of our opinions, but there's probably a key difference that we have.
Yeah.
Our favorite album isn't most people's favorite album, but it's like third place usually.
Yeah, and we'll get to why that is once we get to it. But let's start off with the Blue Album. Now, just a quick disclaimer to the audience watching. It is typically known by the Weezer community that their first two albums are their magnum opuses, and they will never be beaten.
Yes.
No matter how many years have passed, no matter how many different times they experiment with the sound and fail with it, or whether they succeed with it, like, these two albums are just so embedded in like the music scene, and they're so iconic, and they're kind of like, with Pinkerton especially, which we'll get to later, it has such a cult following. But let's just begin with the Blue Album. I'm sorry, I'm digressing.
Sure. So Blue Album, widely considered possibly the best album, or the second best album. This album, definitely, you've heard some of the songs on this. You got Buddy Holly, the Sweater Song, Say It Ain't So.
Oh,
these
of course.
Songs that, because you introduced me to Weezer a little over a year ago, and I started with the Blue Album. I was like, I'm just going to start right here. And so there was already a familiarity with me, and I feel like people in our audience that maybe haven't actually listened to Weezer, you'll immediately feel familiar with this album because you've probably heard some of their songs. This album, as a whole, I really enjoy it a lot. I would give it a cyan in terms of the color rankings, if our audience still knows what that is.
Which I guess to equate that to maybe people who don't know that, I guess that would equate to what, like a 7 out of 10, 7.5?
Yeah, something like that. It's definitely like a great album that I really enjoy a lot.
Yeah, and I mean, just from the opener, man, like, My Name is Jonas, which, funny thing, Say It Ain't So, Weezer I first discovered on Rock Band, because Say It Ain't So was on Rock Band, and then on Guitar Hero 3 they had My Name is Jonas. So like, I remember being really young and hearing those songs. So I guess in that sense, the Blue Album has that familiarity you were talking about earlier. Like, it kind of has like the American Idiot syndrome, where Boulevard and Broken Dreams was played on the radio so much when I was a kid. I have that familiar reference to go off of.
Yeah. My Name is Jonas, in my opinion, may be the greatest very first song off of the debut album of a band, at least for punk rock. Like, they fucking nailed it right away. I was blown away, because as soon as I heard that song, I went, all right, I'm going to like this band. They just killed it. Shit.
that song kicks ass, and of course that acoustic guitar at the beginning, it's so catchy, so fun, and as soon as those really bombastic guitars come in, and I like how Rivers' voice is kind of buried in the mix a bit more,
Sure.
like Rivers sounds very different on this record in my opinion than any other. Like, I don't know what it is about this record, but there's something about it, he just does not sound ever again like this.
Huh.
Or at least, okay, a little bit. No, actually, okay, I'll take that back. I think that the sound carries on Pinkerton, but I feel like
it's those first two.
Rivers though, his voice definitely changed in between the time from Pinkerton to the Green Album, in the way he sang, the way he just kind of performed. Like, he was a lot more like, I guess you could tell he was a bit more introverted, or kind of like a tortured soul,
Sure,
if you will.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because I feel like Rivers always has this like journey where he's always trying to prove himself, even though he immediately proved himself with the very first album because they blew up because of it. Because for people who don't really know Weezer, like, Weezer is punk rock for those who don't feel like they fit in with the rest of the punk rock scene. Sort of like the Rivers Cuomo, like, you see him, like, he's this like short, skinny, dorky looking guy who's like really shy and kind of nervous and all that. And like, he gives a voice to all of the people like him. But the funny thing is, he rocks the hell out. So it's interesting dichotomy. And the songs are about like stuff like that. Like, Buddy Holly is like what's with these homies dissing my girl? Why do they got a front? Like,
it's hella funny, and I love that sense of humor too. But that's actually an interesting point that I never really thought about, is that Weezer really is like with Green Day, their roots were in Gilman and Berkeley, and they were really in the punk scene. They went to punk shows, they moshed, they did all kinds of stuff. They were religiously into that. With Weezer, I never got the impression that he was trying to like appeal to that crowd exactly. Like, I always kind of got it more as like people like you and me who can look at a band like Green Day and be like, oh, I like this sounds good, but isn't willing to go the extra mile and really fully submit to the scene or the fandom, if you will.
It's punk rock for nerds, but it works because that's the key difference, I would say, and that's the charm of Weezer. But yeah, with this first album, you got the classic punk rock sound that's polished right away, which is interesting because a lot of other punk rock bands like Blink-182 and Green Day, their first couple albums are really unpolished. It sounds like they're recording out of a tin can because they had no budget. So it's kind of cool that Weezer started off right away with, at least some production behind it, because all these songs sound perfectly great nowadays. There's nothing holding them back.
And it's amazing that you bring that up too, because the producer of the album, who I can't remember his name, but he also produced Everything Will Be All Right in the End, which we will talk about later on in the podcast. But it is interesting because this is, I guess, the genesis of that sound, and we'll talk more about when that sound returns later on, or at least somewhat of it. But yeah, I just want to go in and talk about some standout tracks here. You mentioned My Name Is Jonas.
That's my favorite.
Really awesome. It's my second favorite. Second to Undone the Sweater Song, just because it's so classic. It's nostalgic, but also there's something about it that just like is really kind of haunting, but like really, it's fucking awesome. And I love that part at the end when the guitars kind of do like this. Like it's awesome, dude.
Yeah, they do that a couple times in this album where they just let the instruments go off, because they do that in Undone the Sweater Song, and then Only in Dreams, a 8-minute epic that closes the album that I wasn't a big fan the first time I listened to it, because the entire second half has no vocals and is just a long roller coaster of the instruments being up here and then slowly going down until there's barely anything. The pacing is really slow. It's like tiny little ting, ting, and a little bit of bass, and that's it. And then it slowly builds back up all the way until it goes way the hell off. And apparently that's a metaphor for masturbation, which I find hilarious.
No, yeah, it's amazing. Like, look, I think that song to me, because I like Only in Dreams. I think that a lot of fans of Weezer, like a lot of diehard fans, probably like it a lot more than you and I do, because it is their first, like, it really is kind of like their first epic, really.
Oh yeah,
It's like it's a pretty damn good closer, all things
it is.
considered.
It
It's
is. Yeah.
long, sure, but like, it's really, I think, I don't know, it holds my attention. I think that
Sure. Yeah.
it's a pretty good song,
It's
honestly.
grown on me overall. But yeah, the overall theme of this album really is just like fear of loneliness, feeling like you don't belong and no one really understands you. And definitely certain stuff of like chasing girls, only in dreams. That one's all about it, where it's just like, oh, this, the love that someone like Rivers wants at that time, it's only in his dreams.
Yeah.
And it's just certain feelings of like, man, I'm a failure.
No, exactly. But then, what I love about it is that you have moments like that. But then on the flip side, you have stuff like Surf Wax America, which is literally about like going into work on a surfboard. You know, like that's just so yeah. You really don't know what to expect sometimes with their like quirkiness of humor. But
Yeah.
Surf Wax America, like we said, Say It Ain't So is classic.
Yep.
I think a lot of people will agree it's one of the best Weezer songs, although it's one of those that I feel like is played a lot to the point where I usually come back to it.
Yeah.
And the second track on this album, No One Else, is the lyrics on that, yeah, they're something. It's just something.
It sounds like an abusive boyfriend, and I guess it's the joke. Well, because I remember hearing somewhere where No One Else was through the perspective of like a total asshole abusive boyfriend, and the world has turned and left me here is what happens after that when she leaves him, and he's like, man, I guess I'm fucked up, huh? I'm all alone now. So there's certain stuff like that. But if you were ever gonna listen to Weezer, without a doubt, begin with this one.
I would agree. I think it's the perfect entry level Weezer record. I really do. I think
it's fantastic, and I personally have it as my fifth favorite of the band. Definitely in the upper tier. Always belongs in there.
It's in my top 5. I'm gonna save my positions for all of them until like towards the end.
Okay, sure. I'll do the same.
But yes, that's the Blue album.
Blue album.
Yeah.
So now let's skip ahead 2 years to 1996. Now, at this point, Rivers was terrified because he blew up overnight and had no idea that people would connect so heavily with his music. So, with Pinkerton, they decided to go in a much more raw, personal, honest direction. And
they produced the record themselves. And because of that, it has a very, very abrasive sound.
Yes. And when it came out, people did not like it. And you can't talk about Pinkerton without talking about what it means in terms of the story of Weezer and what has led to Weezer being who they are nowadays. Because this album was disliked when it came out, but over the years, it grew on people and now is pretty widely considered their best album.
Yeah, and it really is between the Blue album and Pinkerton, like what we were saying earlier. Yeah. But I think I see more Pinkerton love just in general. I think I see more Pinkerton love. And it's not hard to imagine why, because I mean, first of all, this is the most personal Rivers will ever go.
Exactly.
I fundamentally just like, one of the things that really I think turned me on to the record was that it's really not often to me when you see an artist just throw themselves like literally head first into like pouring all of their emotions out and saying, I don't even fucking care. I don't care about holding it in anymore. Like, I don't want to hold it in anymore. I'm just going to spill out all my feelings, and if people hate it, then fucking let's, whatever.
Yeah.
And
in a way, I would kind of bring up, it's almost like, I forget what the exact phrase is, but it's something like don't meet your heroes, pretty much, where I think a lot of people immediately love the Blue album because it gave a voice to the shy, nerdy kids who still want to rock out. And it seemed like it was Rivers being honest and open about who he is. And it's like, oh, we meet this new guy who's like me and not like the rest of these guys. And I relate to him. This is awesome. But then Pinkerton was Rivers actually being more open and being like, okay, you guys want to know more about me? I'm going to be really honest about even the darker side of myself that I'm not really proud of, but I want to share it because I need to be open with you guys. And people didn't like that. It was like, oh no, I want to go back to the more fun version of you. And it's like, shit, but like this is me.
Yeah,
So,
and that's got to be really hard, especially as an artist,
mhm.
to think like, okay, this is me. This is the most personal I've ever been. This is the most lonely I've ever been in my life.
Yeah,
Here,
during like his roughest time in his life too.
here are all of my emotions, and then people trash them. It's like, well, I put myself out there, and
Hmm.
nobody liked it.
Yeah, so why should I bother? Why bother?
Exactly, exactly. And you know, I like we just said, this is likely the most lonely Rivers has
Oh
ever
yeah.
been in his entire life. And
Hmm.
um, you mentioned because of the fame and success and how that how that works psychologically of what
Hmm.
does that do to a person, putting them in the spotlight, like, and how does that pan out? And I think in this
Hmm.
case you see a lot of um, like rejection of his
Yeah.
own identity, and you
Mhm.
see a lot of self-deprecation, but in a way that's like it's somehow really catchy at times. Like
It's
on the
sure, definitely.
on the track El Scorcho, okay, like little known fact, guys, we're just gonna get right into it. El Scorcho is my favorite Weezer song. I fucking love that song, and it's just fantastic. But like, but going back, I'm sorry, I just had to
No,
digress for
yeah,
that
yeah,
1 second.
we got to gush about it. I mean, yeah, there is
It's
times where
amazing.
the album is legitimately catchy. When I first heard the album, I did not really care for it. I didn't hate it, but I definitely was like, I'm not used to the abrasive sound. I kind of feel like if the songs were more polished and put together and just kind of done better, especially with the singing portions,
Yeah,
then I would like it. But over time, it's grown on me, and like I definitely don't imagine this album any other way. There
it
are
all. Yeah,
songs. Yeah, there are songs that are legitimately just like actually really catchy. Tired of Sex, the opening, to
yeah.
me is fantastic. And I think while technically from a musical standpoint, this album maybe is sloppy at times, really in the singing department, because like El Scorcho especially, it
Yeah.
almost sounds like they're just drunk in the studio, just singing their
Yeah, oh
hearts
yeah,
out.
and that's likely like, but that's the thing too about it, and I almost wonder like it's almost because the singing is so abrasive and
Hmm.
because the instrumentation is so abrasive too. It's almost like a character. It's like it fits the album's like character, so to
Oh
speak.
yeah,
Like
you feel the emotion, you feel it being poured out.
I don't know that a song like Across the Sea or Tired of Sex would have hit for me personally if it had the production of the Blue Album. Like I
Yeah.
don't I really don't think so.
Yeah, it would
Um,
sound, I guess just try hardy. Like, oh, I'm so lonely, guys, listen to me. But like, okay, but you have like really sweet polished music. So are you really pouring your heart out here? Here, no, this is all them.
yeah, absolutely. And now we do need to address the elephant in the room with some of the lyrics that are found
Yes.
on this
So
record. Now,
you,
this is part of the reason why I think I
bring
admire
'em up.
this record because he really is putting himself out there and he's really sharing a lot about himself.
Hmm.
Sometimes, and we'll get into this right now,
Yeah.
to an uncomfortable degree.
Yeah, we'll start with like the more medium level stuff. Tired of Sex, the opener, right away sets the stage because at this point he is a rock star. And Rivers explained how he wasn't quite sure if he deserved to be a rock star. And Tired of Sex, the entire song is literally about him being tired of sex, having sex with just groupies and just tons of women. The main chorus is him listing off different women for each day of the week and how he
Yep.
doesn't know who he is anymore. And he like he even shouts help in the song. Like I love especially
Help!
because the first verse and chorus he sings at a lower octave and it's a lot more calm, where he's like Monday night I'm making a week like that. But then when he comes back with the second verse and the second chorus, he goes an octave higher and is shouting. It's like Friday night and it's like
Yeah,
whoa, like
yeah,
yeah,
it's fucking awesome, and of course that guitar riff is so catchy, dude. The
yeah.
dun,
Mhm.
dun, 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 dun,
So you
so
got
awesome.
you got themes like that. You got like
Really,
I
really
yeah,
quick, because I just it's completely related to what you were saying about
sure,
Tired
yeah.
of Sex and not wanting to be a rock star. Um, one of Rivers' big inspirations, at least when he was writing the Blue Album, was Nirvana, and I think it's interesting because I watched a documentary about Kurt Cobain's life, and uh, there's a clip with his mom, and she says that when she first heard Nevermind, she cried tears, and not because of joy, not because of she's so proud of her son. She was terrified because she knew that he wouldn't be able to handle it, and that's like crazy. That's crazy to think that also happens here, like on paper. And like, yeah, it's crazy.
I didn't know that.
No, it's completely real.
I mean, like, imagine Rivers showing his mom Pinkerton.
No, God, never.
No.
Never.
But yeah, so you got songs like that. You got Pink Triangle, which is about Rivers having a crush on a girl and then realizing that she's gay because the pink triangle is a symbol that she's gay, which ended up in real life actually turned out to be wrong, that it actually was just she was just in support of gay people. But he didn't realize that until years later. So that's just a...
That's pretty Rivers.
Yeah. And then you have other songs like Why Bother and The Good Life that are really just about him not knowing who he is and feeling lost and helpless. Butterfly, very personal. It's almost like a story. I don't know if it's a story about him, but it's a story from something else. But like, it's just him with a guitar alone in the studio singing the most quietly, personally you can ever hear an artist. It's like, you just feel like you're right in the room with him.
And just the icing on the cake of it all, too, with Butterfly is that the first song on the record, Tired of Sex, the first word is I'm, and then the last word on the record is sorry.
Yeah.
So it's and the last words that are spoken are I'm sorry too. So it's really, really sick that it's really sick that it has that kind of connection. It all weaves together.
Definitely. And now, Explain Across the Sea.
Okay. So
controversial song.
This is without a doubt the most controversial song on the record, but it's really fantastic. This song is about an 18-year-old fan from Japan that was, I guess, a listener of the band. And
she might have been 17. Which age?
I in this song he says you are 18-year-old girl who lives.
Oh, he does.
Yeah. Right. So okay. So a little
less creepy. Okay.
It's a little less creepy, but the age is definitely one thing, right?
Sure, definitely.
Well, especially at his age. But the thing that I think will really, really rub people the wrong way is the lyric when he says, I wonder what clothes you wear to school. I wonder how you decorate your room. I wonder how you touch yourself and curse myself for being across the sea.
Yeah.
So
what the song is about is he received a letter from a fan in Japan, of course, a fangirl, gushing to him. And this album was Rivers at his loneliest and most self-pitying, and all these pointless women that he just kept having sex with. For some reason, this girl across the sea caught his attention, and he fantasized about being with her. And it's weird, it's creepy, especially just the way he explains it. It's completely raw, unfiltered, like just his thoughts being poured out. And it's pretty jarring where you're like, ooh, okay. Yeah. But, when you're at a really lonely, dark place like that, you have those thoughts. And that's where it's like, I just applaud the hell out of Rivers for being brave enough to share those thoughts with the world.
Yeah, and I mean, fuck, I would never do that. I would never I would never make Pinkerton.
No.
Fuck that.
No, especially being like drunk in the studio, just recording it and being like, yep, that's it.
Yeah, and I also think that this record gets better when you even take into account some bonus tracks.
Yes.
Real quick, I've just throughout the Love of My Dreams is fantastic. That actually features a female vocalist, so Rivers is not on the song, I'm pretty sure, in any capacity. And then there's also
You Gave Your Love to Me Softly.
Yes,
that was a fucking banger.
That one's really good, and then. One that I think is so overlooked is Long Time Sunshine.
Yes.
And the way that it ends with the Why Bother thing. And actually, I believe on our documents, like when we arrange the Weezer albums, we have that as the penultimate song, right? Yeah. Of the record.
Yeah. It belongs in that spot because, in my opinion, you either end an album with the most quiet, personal thing, or the most epic, bombastic final finish. And in this case, Butterfly is without a doubt the quiet personal ballad. Longtime Sunshine is a quiet personal ballad that then becomes kind of more of this epic finisher at the end. So I think it serves really well as a penultimate song. And that's another example where musically, that entire ending section is pretty sloppy and they're not singing well. And I kind of don't think, because what happens is all the band members end up singing different choruses and verses from different songs on the album itself. So it really works well to just summarize the whole album, which is really cool. No instruments at all, just singing. They're probably drunk. They're all singing over top of each other. They end up double tracking themselves. Rivers is singing two different things at some point. And it's cool in concept. In execution, but when you take into account the feeling of the album and the way that it all puts together, you accept it as, this sort of raw, sloppy.
You feel like, because there's that quote by Rivers where he says, it's a hideous record. Like, he says something like, it's like getting drunk at a party, being so cathartic and pouring your entire heart and soul out in front of everyone, only to wake up the next morning to realize how much of a fool you've made of yourself.
Exactly.
And I almost feel like that the ending of that song is the musical equivalent. That belongs in the album, like in that way. Like there's something about it where I'm like, oh no, okay, so that's what he was talking about. Was like that part right there.
I feel also you were saying that this was self-produced, and I think that totally makes sense. I could not see a legit radio producer sounding off on some of these songs. They would have stepped in and been like, hey, let's re-record that or just cut that song.
And it's crazy, and especially when you take into account the fact that this was supposed to be a rock opera too for the songs from the Black Hole, which I don't know that much about that record.
I don't know much either.
But yeah.
So Pinkerton, a Cyan album for me, just like the Blue Album, great album.
It is also in my top 5. And we'll get to that later, but the next album in their discography is the Green Album. Now, just a quick little disclaimer: our descriptions of these next couple of albums might be a bit quicker than.
We had to gush over the first two because they're considered the best albums and they're the most important albums. So we had to spend a lot of time on them.
We're not gonna waste too much of your time, especially because I know that you like this album more than me, but personally, I think that the Green Album is pretty bland. And
so to continue the story of Weezer, so you have 1996, poured his heart out with the most personal record ever, and everyone hated it. 5 years later, they released another album. And before that, it was a question whether they would ever release music again, because imagine pouring your heart out to the world. You blew up, you were super huge and famous, you go, people like me, all right, I'm going to show them me. And then all of a sudden, everyone hates who you really are. Why make music after that? Well, you end up making music, but you decide to go back to what worked before. However, you're too scared to be personal like you were on the Blue Album, which is what ends up with the Green Album. As a whole, I love the sound of the Green Album. It is safe, fun, punk rock. However, under the surface, there's not much else. There's not much personality to it. It is pretty much just simple, surface level fun music.
And I think that songs like Photograph and Don't Let Go, and of course Hash Pipe and Island in the Sun are really fun songs. But to me, what I think the album lacks is just a kind of a purpose.
Definitely.
Other than just let's get in the studio and make some songs that people are just gonna like play in the background, or Hash Pipe.
Safe.
Hash Pipe is, I like that song, but it's pretty stupid. It's a pretty stupid song.
Sure. I personally love Don't Let Go and Island in the Sun. Those two songs are in my top 10. Don't Let Go, I think, is my 4th favorite Weezer song. For some reason, those songs just fucking hit me. That was such an amazing start to the album. Other than that, though, not much else on the album really stacks up to it. But at the same time, nothing pisses me off. It is a very consistently good album. So,
it just has a stronger first couple of songs. It kind of trails off for me.
Sure.
Is there anything else you wanted to say about it? There really isn't.
Well, yeah,
Like,
I mean, pretty much overall, that is really the story of this album. I think, in terms of the Weezer community, it is a middle road album, and for good reason. Because if you're gonna listen to Weezer, I think you'll enjoy the album first listen. I feel like most people will not like Pinkerton and prefer Green, like I did. But then over time, you'll realize there's not much reason to go back to the Green album. Meanwhile, Pinkerton, every time you listen to it, whether it's your third or your 20th time, you're going to find something new and you're going to relate to it a lot more. That's the big thing. Also, Green Album, there's nothing to relate to really. There's nothing like, damn, here I really get him. You know,
yeah,
it's just fun music. And at the same time, I don't mind fun music. There's definitely plenty of
yeah.
Weezer albums that are just fun music, but in the wrong direction. In my opinion, if you would say like, oh, this is the sound of Weezer, Green Album is a good example of that.
Yes. So like, I would probably, you know, this is probably in my lower tier, Weezer
Okay,
lower half, just because
sure.
it's not, it just kind of lacks that vision or that kind of,
Mhm.
I don't know. I feel like that there was something really lacking in the songwriting, and also just the standard tuned guitars. I feel like we're very safe and stuff, but
Yeah, yeah. There's not a lot of variety.
there's not a lot of variety. But you know, what can you do?
Yeah,
Like
it's nice and sweet. I
it
mean, it's also like to follow up Blue and Pinkerton. You know,
yeah, no,
it's
it's
hard.
hard.
I
It's gonna be
totally
hard.
understand why it is the way it is. If you're gonna get back in the studio and make safe music, this is how you do it.
Now, the next album in their discography,
You, by the way, just to give my color
oh yeah,
ranking, the Green Album would be a green. So
and that would equate to what, like a 6.5, 7
sure,
around there.
sure, sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
like it's good. I'll listen to it. It's definitely a middle grade album for me in terms of their discography.
So the next album in their discography is Maladroit, which I personally believe is a bit more of like a, I guess, like this seems like a more natural progression
Yeah.
from Pinkerton. Like
Mhm.
it kind of just seems like the Green album just feels not like obsolete, but it like it feels like the sounds that they wanted to tap into, it should
Mhm.
have happened earlier. Like
Yeah,
with like Green, just in my opinion, should not have happened as far as that sound. I think just
sure.
Maladroit should have been.
If anything, I could see Maladroit being a perfect middle of the middle grade thing between Blue and Pinkerton, because you have Blue, which is still kind of more a classic punk rock, but the Maladroit is a little more kind of, I guess, like darker and angrier and a little more grungier, and then Pinkerton is the most sort abrasive. So like if you want to slowly wean yourself to Pinkerton, maybe Maladroit's a good
I
middle.
would say Maladroit is really, like, it's very riffy. You know,
Hmm.
it's very, that's the one thing that I will say, more so than any, honestly, dude, any Weezer record up until this point, maybe actually, okay, that's a little bit of exaggeration. I would say up until this point, Maladroit has some of the best Weezer riffs, like guitar riffs.
Okay.
Like, as far as, I mean, Dope Nose's riff is catchy as fuck. Uh,
Hmm.
Take Control, that down is awesome. Burnt Jam, those
Cute.
guitars are so nice.
Hmm.
That honest to God, that might have my favorite guitar part in any Weezer song. And
Interesting. Okay.
I know that's fucking crazy, but
Yeah.
like legitimately, I love the way those guitars sound on Burnt Jam.
Wow.
Um, uh,
Is
love it,
Burnt
but
Jam your favorite song on this album?
definitely,
Okay,
definitely,
gotcha. Gotcha.
yeah,
My favorite would be the opening, American Gigolo. That's a fire opening. Overall, though, for my opinion of the album, it's not my favorite. I definitely
yeah,
have nothing against it. It's another middle road album, but I would prefer Green just because there are more songs on Green that I listen to more. Really, American Gigolo is the only one that really stands out to me on this album. And then the rest just kind of all kind of meshes well together. It's just like, all right, that was good.
yeah.
You know?
No, I get that for sure, and I think I felt similarly when I first heard it. And um, I to go back to Burnt Jam real quick, I that song is not only my favorite on this record, but it's actually in my top 10 Weezer songs. I
Okay, wow.
love this song. I love the how cute it is, and it's really rare. Also, I think at this point, especially because like you know, with Green, you had some happy songs like, you
Hmm.
know, oh girlfriend, I guess, like there was, they sounded happier,
Yeah, it's
but
fun.
Burnt Jam is like legitimately him like actually being sweet to a girl, and
Yeah.
like it's well intentioned, and it's like it's really kind in that regard. I think that's what I really like about it too. And I also think that this record has a really good bonus track that if you guys are trying to get into Weezer and want to listen to Maladroit, I'd recommend checking out the song "Living Without You." It's kind of like it's a lot more of like a fast. It almost reminds me of like a Blink 182 song.
Yeah.
Seriously, no, it's great, and I actually put it on my version of the album, which is pretty sick. But overall, yeah, Maladroit, not perfect. I think it's a bit spotty. It's not. There's this kind of cult following with Maladroit, and that
Maladroit's usually mid upper tier for Weezer.
Yeah, people always say Maladroit is underrated, like every diehard Weezer fan, and because in a lot of ways it is, but like I think it's a bit too spotty. I think it's a bit too spotty personally for me to really put it up there with the rest of the ones that I like.
Yeah. Something that I just realized, I have always seen the album cover, and for some reason, I always saw that line with the lamp in front of the guy's face. I thought that was a noose hanging from the ceiling just in front of him, and he's just sitting there ignoring it and reading his book. And I just realized it's not. It's just
a lamp
and a lamp. But
no, it's an optical illusion.
Yeah, it's like, oh, that's like an interesting cover album. Like it's like this old style like painting thing like that you would see out of like a magazine, and it's this guy reading a book with a noose in front of him. But
I would say Maladroit has one of Weezer's best covers. It's pretty cool. Like seriously.
Definitely.
Then
from Maladroit, by the way, was a year after Green Album. So at this point now, it sounds like Weezer's fully back. They're making music. Sure, it's not as good as they once did, but they're still making pretty good music, and the Weezer community likes it.
Yes.
And then you get to 2005 with Make Believe.
Yes. Now, this ranks towards the bottom for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
Some people will say that this is the worst Weezer album,
which I would disagree with. I
would disagree with personally. And I think the only saving grace of it is really that there's distorted guitar that sounds at least somewhat familiar to the Weezer formula at this point.
Yeah. This album is a departure from the rest, and like every punk rock band or really rock band in general, it's always the story of them becoming more poppy over time. That's what always happens. And this is the first time Weezer actually did that. They actually really headed more into a pop direction. They get way more severe later on, and I think over time I've grown to not dislike this album anymore. I used to really not like it, but now it's like it's still lower tier, but it's like in the middle. Like I actually wouldn't really mind listening to Maladroit and Make Believe. Like those two albums are surprisingly close in rankings for me.
For me, I actually think this album gets a little bit too much hate personally.
Yeah.
Look, I think it's songwriting is pretty stupid at points.
Yeah.
I think the song "We Are All on Drugs" is really fucking stupid.
Don't like that song.
Beverly Hills is a fun song, but it's kind of formulaic.
It's very basic. Perfect Situation though.
Yes. Okay. So that is definitely my favorite song on this record, and I think that a lot of fans would agree with that as well. I do want to give a shout out though to "Hold Me." I think that song's an underrated song.
Hold Me's not bad, yeah.
It gets overlooked a bit.
Mm-hmm.
I think My Best Friend is pretty stupid, but it's catchy as hell. I'm sorry. I'm just going to say it's fucking catchy.
Yeah. They've started experimenting on this album a bit with different sounds, and sometimes they go in a poppy direction, or in the case of This Is Such a Pity, they just go straight 80s. And I really like This Is Such a Pity. I think I'm the only motherfucker on this planet Earth that has ever said, you know what, I like This Is Such a Pity. That's a Cheyenne.
No, for real. They're going to think that you're speaking like fucking gibberish.
Exactly.
But
this album overall, though, like when you really compare it to the rest, and really when you just listen to it, like, yes, it is a departure. Yes, it's a little more poppy, but it still sounds like Weezer to me. It still sounds like rock. You still have all the instruments. It's not overly processed bullshit yet. It's not dumb auto-tune, whatever. It's like, no, this is still like alternative pop punk. Like, it's just not as good as what came before it.
Right. And I think that there's really not much else more to say about it, because it's really just, I think, Green Album Part 2, if you will. At least it to my ears. You know, I think it's interchangeable whether or not you think that like Maladroit and make, because to you Maladroit's probably like what you see as like Maladroit Part 2 is make believe, where it's like it's not, it's just kind of spotty.
Well, actually, I make believe to me is its own thing. I don't really think
Really?
it sounds like any of the other albums. I feel like Green sounds like a safe version of Blue. Maladroit maybe kind of like a safe version of Pinkerton. Make believe its own thing. I can't really compare it to anything.
I guess it has more of like it sounds a bit more like 2000s, if you will, like a little bit more.
Sure.
Like I don't really know how to describe that, but I do want us to get into this next record because
yeah.
So how should we talk about this? Because there's a very different way that we think of. Okay, so let's start with just the original release.
Yes, the original release. So Red Album. This album is considered lower mid-tier amongst the Weezer community. It is a messy album. I personally, the original release, I like it. I don't love it, but I like it. To me, this is the most experimental album they ever did in terms of let's just do all kinds of different genres and just go off. And the album cover reflects that. They're all dressed in different clothing to reflect different genres. You got Rivers dressed up in country. I don't know. Is that Matt Schreiner? Is that which one's the one on the right?
Scott Schreiner left the band.
Scott Schreiner. Okay, yeah. Scott, he's dressed like a heavy metal.
That's Matt Sharp. Sorry, that Matt Sharp is the one that left the band. Scott Schreiner is the one there. Yeah, you got.
But anyway, you got him dressed up as that. You got Pat. He looks like he's going to church. And then the other guy on the far left, he's like going to do a folksy album or whatever. Like you just got everything. And to me, I really appreciate that they decided to just go for it. Like Make Believe, they were experimenting, but in my opinion, they never really had very high highs other than Perfect Situation. On this album, though, I think some of the experimentation absolutely fucking worked. Troublemaker, great opening song. I
like that song.
I don't know why, because I think it's a great song.
No, okay, I don't give a fuck when it says Troublemaker's a bop. Like I'm being honest.
Troublemaker's great. The Greatest Man That Ever Lived comes right after that, and that's a 6-minute epic where every 30 seconds they are singing in a different style of a different artist. And these styles can range from really close stuff like Green Day and Aerosmith, like rock, to then more like heavy metal, like screamo shit, to then like pop country, like folksy old 60s stuff, to rap, to then like choral Beethoven and Mozart. Like they're going all over the fucking place, and it is just a fun variety, and that's a blast to listen to.
Yeah, no, I think that's one of the better songs on this record. I think that's a really bold move. And then, of course, the song right after, Pork and Beans, is so fucking fun. Dude, that's music video.
Weezer song on this album.
That music video is so awesome. Mm-hmm. I mean, in a lot of ways, the Pork and Beans music video is the original YouTube Rewind. It's like the first one. Mm-hmm. You know, it's awesome, because I guess Weezer was doing like a collaboration with YouTube.
Sure, yeah. And I think that's another cool thing about Weezer and Rivers Cuomo is like the relationship that Rivers has with not only the fan base, but also just internet culture and understanding like jokes and memes and just being troll with people. Like he's very in tune with that, and that's what adds to his relatability. And sometimes it just reflects in the music itself or the music videos that they do. It's just like he knows who he is, he knows his gimmick, and he knows how to take a joke.
Yeah, dude. And then moving on, there's Heart Songs. Yeah. Could you take it away? Because I'll be honest, I don't really like the rest of this album except for 2 songs that we'll get to.
Sure. Yeah, I enjoy this album a lot. But yeah, so Heart Songs is another really cute song, which actually he tells the story of how he was introduced to Nevermind and how that kind of awoke this side of him, like, hey, I want to make music. But Heart Songs is cute. It's nice and fun. Everybody Get Dangerous is not my favorite. It's not horrible, but it's like, you know. Dreamin' is kind of experimental, where it like almost just like splits into like a different section halfway through.
Yeah,
like this whole thing.
Yeah, honestly, dude, like that song has kind of always been hit or miss for me because of that. Where
I've grown to love it actually.
Yeah, it's what the fuck. Okay, my document like completely crusted out, but yeah. So continuing on, and then where did you leave off at?
So you have that right, and then the album takes a shit because the experimentation at this point, in my opinion, was working for the most part. Sometimes it was amazing, like Greatest Man That Ever Lived. Then you have 3 songs in a row that are written and sung by the other band members, not Rivers. And okay, fine, you can do that, but they didn't do it well, and I do not like it, and no
And,
one does.
yeah, Thought I Knew is pretty fucking stupid. Like it's pretty bad. Um, Somehow though, Cold Dark
Yeah,
World is worse.
yeah, yeah.
And then Automatic is not that great either.
Yeah,
But,
just 3 stinkers in a row.
and it's like, okay, I was really enjoying the album up until
Yep.
then. Like, like
Yeah, like you had great. You started off fucking strong. You had
yeah.
2 bangers in a row, and then Pork and Beans is also really popular. So it's just like, yo, y'all are on fire. And then you had some good stuff, and then you took a shit, and it's like, what happened?
But then, right after,
Experimentation.
we have one of Weezer's best songs, in my personal opinion, "The Angel and the One." Holy shit! I mean, okay, Only in Dreams is great, and it's like this great epic, but in my opinion, this was the even better version of that. And I know that some people are watching and they're thinking that's complete sacrilege to say, but like there is something about this song, dude, that I just think is so powerful and moving and awesome. It's such a highlight on the record.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, Angel and the One is a great finisher, and with the whole experimentation, that one is like organ and like because it doesn't have like does it have electric guitars? It's definitely not a rock song. It's something completely different, you know. And it's a song that has no chorus. That was Rivers' whole spiel when he was making the song. He wanted to write a song that only has verses that just build and build and build, and it's just a slow build to then this big epic emotional, finish, and it's great. It's a great closer.
That part where he says, "We are the angels and we are the ones that are praying."
Yeah.
Fucking epic.
It's
so sick.
So when you look at that album, the way that we've reacted to it, you go, huh, all right, it's got the ups and it's got the lows. So for me personally, I would give the album a green as it was released because it has some of my favorite songs they've ever released. And it's just those 3 stinkers near the end that really ruin a lot of it.
So the way we recommend you do it is you do it in this order, Chris. Take it away because I'm not looking at the document.
So, like we said, Weezer is infamous for having shitloads of B-sides. And very often the B-sides are fantastic. And you wonder, why the fuck wasn't this put on an album? You guys have very hit or miss albums, but you make banger B-sides that were for that album. Why not just swap songs out? So that's what we did. We took those 3 stinkers that shouldn't have been on the album and we swapped them out with 3 B-sides from that era that are fantastic. Miss Sweeney, a slow build banger that I really like now. I swapped that out and put that in the 7th spot. Right after that, It's Easy, which is still a song that Rivers isn't the main singer for, but in my opinion, it works.
No, it totally works.
Yeah, and it's an acoustic thing, number 8. Then, number 9, perfect penultimate song, Pig. Basically, take a lot of the concept, because Pig is verses, and then big chorus for the final finisher, and it's this big emotional thing that tells the story of a pig and the life that it lived and then was snuffed out, and it's like, oh, the pig, and then that to me then leads perfectly into The Angel and the One. Yeah. So when you swap those 3 shitty songs out with 3 great B-sides, you have a great album, and for me that would be a blue. It's like, oh shit, this is a great album.
Yeah, it's so I know that a lot of people are going to be like, what the fuck, you put Red Album above all of these, but just know that when we tell you the rankings, that's what we're going based off of.
Either way, I still love Blue and Pinkerton, so people can yell at me that they're not my favorite, but at least I still love them. It's not like I'm saying Pinkerton's overrated. It's like,
no, absolutely.
So, Red Album, 2008. A lot of people still didn't really like it. So at this point, the Weezer community are starting to wonder, what happened, guys? What happened?
And we're only like halfway through their discography at this point.
We're only halfway through. People at this point were kind of saying, hey, Weezer, what are you guys doing? And you can tell Rivers at this point kind of doesn't care. He's like, guys, I'm just going to do what I want to do. And that's where we get to Raditude, 2009.
Yes, so this album is pretty fucking stupid. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. It is widely regarded as their worst. I think it's fair to say that this is online. People put this at the bottom, or they make jokes that it's the worst.
Yeah, it's usually at the bottom. It is not my least favorite, but it is in the bottom tier, definitely.
Yeah, and like it's not hard to see why. I mean, you got songs like "In the Mall," "Love Is the Answer,"
yeah,
and then
the worst Weezer song,
"Can't Stop Partying," with Lil Wayne of all people, who comes in to say, "Bitch, it's Weezer and it's Wheezy." Now, look, Lil Wayne it's totally, you have your own thing going and stuff, but my God, this is two worlds that just should never have combined.
Exactly.
And it's so forced. It's so forced, dude.
It just sounds so like try hard, like trying to relate to the youngins. It's like, shut the fuck up. This is so bad. And sometimes it can work. Sometimes you can have rock and somehow blend it with a completely different genre. Pretty Little Girl from Blink-182 has a rap verse in it, and it works. It works with the song. But with Can't Stop Partying, Lil Wayne does not bring the heat.
Yeah, he does not bring the heat whatsoever on this. And I mean, I can't shit on him too much. Rivers doesn't really either. Funny enough, there actually is an acoustic version of the song that, I shit you not, is almost emotional. I
did not know that.
Because it sounds somber, and it's thinking like, I can't stop partying, like I'm so addicted to this like lifestyle. So it sounds like almost kind of like sad. And
wow.
So that's
wait, does Rivers like rap the verse?
No, I don't think it's like that, but I think it's like a demo.
It's easy.
I think it's a demo. That'd be pretty funny though.
So this album is like this album's like a party album. It's just all about partying, and it's dumb and just stupid. The only saving grace of this album is the opening and closing songs. The opening, if you're wondering if I Want You To, does not belong on this album at all. Should have been somewhere else because it's fantastic and sounds nothing like the rest of it. And it's just cute, fun, simple Weezer. That's a saving grace. And then I Don't Want to Let You Go, the closer. I really like that song. I think it's really cute. And another one that just doesn't feel like it should have been on this album.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think that Even Put Me Back Together is a pretty fun song.
Sure, that one's cute, yeah.
And then The Girl Got Hot is stupid, but like
it's stupid, but
it's kind of fucking catchy, like,
this album is stupid, but sometimes works, which is why I don't hate it. I would actually rank it like a yellow as an album. I actually think it's like okay. But if I'm going to really think of it in terms of the Weezer discography, no, it shouldn't have been made.
Thankfully, though, the year after,
exactly.
Was it the year after?
Yep. The year after. Now we're in 2010. So again, the Weezer community is like, all right, are we done? Are we done making good music?
But they come back with an album with the actor from Lost that plays Hurley on the cover, of just his face, no title, just Hurley. And that is pretty stupid. Just first, right off the bat, I don't like looking at the image. It's not that I don't like looking at Hurley's beautiful face. I do. Yeah. It is the fact that, like, even Ratitude, there was still an idea with the dog jumping at the it's still an idea. Mm-hmm. I don't like it, but it's an idea.
Yeah.
This is just like lazy, and this is just like, it doesn't give the album really any purpose beyond just being a bunch of songs. Like, there's not really a purpose to it. And it's not,
it's like Rivers was like, hey, you guys don't like what I'm making, so fuck you, here's Hurley.
Yeah.
And it's like, all right, Rivers, okay, I'll listen to it. And then you listen to it and you go, okay, all right.
You listen to it and you're like, okay, that was a little bit better than I was expecting, actually.
Maybe we're headed in the right direction a bit, Rivers. Maybe.
Yeah. The album starts off with Memories, which is a song that I first discovered from Jackass 3. Because they had.
I've seen Jackass 3 and I didn't know that.
It's a credit song. But yeah, Memories, great opener. I actually think that this is a great track, and I would actually say that the greatness of this album really lies within those first 4 tracks, because Memories, Ruling Me, were really good songs, especially
It lagged for a second there. So you're talking about Memories, Ruling Me, Trainwrecks, and Unspoken, the first 4 tracks.
Yes, the first 4 tracks, and then Trainwrecks is my personal favorite on the record.
That's my favorite as well.
It is a fantastic song. It's classic Weezer, but it also sounds a bit different. Like it sounds a little bit different too. Like it feels kind of like epic in a way.
Yeah, you still have like a little bit more on the processed side with this album, and a little element still of kind of like a bit of the party, synthy, whatever was going on in Ratitude, but it feels a little more in the rock direction. And that's why this album as a whole just sounds like a step in the right direction. It's not a great album by any means at all. I would rank it a yellow green. But it's like, okay, you actually have some good stuff on there. Yeah. There's only one song that rides the line of being bad. Where's My Sex? I think is just weird and dumb. I do not like it. And Time Flies, the closer, got shit fucked from being a good song because they decided to record it in a tin can or some bullshit.
Yeah, like I get what they were trying to do, but I'm sorry, it's just not pleasant to listen to.
You have a very sweet sounding song that then has a processing over top of it that just ruins it.
Yeah, exactly. Now, Weezer's kind of on an uptrend. Let's see if they can keep this up.
Maybe. And it took 4 years. We had 3 albums, 3 years in a row. And then a 4-year break, which is the longest they've gone since the initial 5-year break after Pinkerton. So the Weezer community is wondering, okay, is Weezer done, or are they going to come back? Now, Rivers wanted to do something special. He decided, all right, I'm going to really communicate with the fans. I'm going to make a classic Weezer album that they will like. And that's where we get with 2014's Everything Will Be All Right in the End.
Yes, and this is the album that I mentioned earlier on in the podcast that the producer of the Blue Album also produced. And while I won't say, or while I'm not going to say that it sounds a lot like the Blue Album, it sounds more. It's like closer to the Blue Album than I would say.
Yeah, this is just straightforward like punk or pop punk, basically. Is how I would summarize this album.
And it really works. And I think that like it's very crisp sounding. It's definitely one of their more consistent records.
Definitely. This is considered one of their better albums amongst the community.
I think you'll usually see this in the top 5 because this is a lot more consistent. They were a lot more focused. The songs had a purpose, and there are some highlights that we'll get to. The first real banger on this record to me is Back to the Shack. I love the introspective lyrics about being rocking out like it's 94, like let's all raise some hell, like let's do it. And I just love the energy that Rivers and the gang bring on that track. It's fantastic.
Yeah, this album is broken up. All the songs fall under one of the 3 categories of either being about the relationship with him and his dad, the relationship between him and it was either his wife or girls in general. Was it just girls?
I think it was his wife.
Okay. And then the relationship between him and the fan base. And Back to the Shack is an example of that because he literally talks about how, hey guys, I'm sorry I fucked up. I'm gonna go back to the Shack. Let's just make classic rock now.
And even I've had it up to here with like the whole like I like what like I don't even know as an artist what to do because I feel like everything I do is just not pleasing any of you guys.
Yep.
Like so that's just. So yeah, that's definitely where he sounds off with that. But then of course you got some really sweet songs on here, like Da Vinci is a really sweet song, very cute, very romantic, with a very winning hook. But I think that we can agree, without a doubt, that the biggest standout on this record is the Future Scope trilogy.
Yeah, this song is ballsy as hell. It is 7.5 minutes. And it is mostly an instrumental track, and it's just epic rock opera the whole way through.
Up until this point, this is the only time Weezer has ever done a rock opera. Like as of recording this, they have not ever done one. This is the closest we have ever gotten to a Weezer rock opera.
Yeah, and because their longest song they ever did was Only in Dreams, and then the closest they ever came was The Greatest Man That Ever Lived, and then you got Future Scope Trilogy, which is 7.5 minutes. So you're like, oh shit, they're doing another big one. Let's see what happens. And it pays off because it's fucking epic.
Yes, it is. It's fantastic. And like, oh my god, just the second part, Anonymous.
Oh yeah, I love the anonymous section.
The anonymous section is awesome. I think that Return to Ithaca is also pretty sick.
Mhm.
I mean, I love the whole fucking song. I'm just being honest.
Yeah.
Like, but like, the anonymous part just feels like it's like that rock opera sound in it just sounds so fucking cool.
Yeah.
Like,
if I had one minor complaint, this song would be like amongst godlike territory if it had like vocals throughout it that kind of unified it as like just an actual 7.5 minute song, because it is pretty much just mostly instrumental. And I'm like, ah, shit, I wish there was just more singing throughout and more like, a story or whatever.
And of course that doesn't bother me too much, just because there are albums that I've listened to. Like, I mean, even one of my favorites, like Kid A and Dark Side of the Moon, you have several tracks that are just complete instrumentals or go several minutes without any spoken word. So like you have stuff like that. But what we're trying to get at here is that Everything Will Be All Right in the End is definitely Weezer made a good album again. Like not even like oh, that was surprisingly good. Like, no, this is a good album.
Yes, most people. Consistent. Yeah, this is when the community went, Weezer's back. We're back. We're doing good. This album, I'd give it a green. It's not in the same territory as Pinkerton and Blue in terms of cyan territory, but it's close, and it is a very great complete package. Like, as an album that I want to listen to, I want to listen to it a lot.
If I had one complaint, it doesn't have quite as many bangers as the other ones that we just mentioned, but
sure, definitely.
Thankfully, that was fixed.
Mm-hmm. With 2 years later, 2016. You think Weezer's back, so what are they going to do now? Well, they end up releasing the best album they've released since those first two, and that's widely agreed upon by the Weezer community. The White Album is fantastic.
I am just going to go out and say it. This is my favorite Weezer album.
It is my favorite as well.
I hold your horses comments. I know that you guys are thinking, what the fuck? This is not Weezer's best. That always goes to Pinkerton and Blue, but really think about it, okay? I recognize, because Blue and Pinkerton, I think, are the better albums. I think they have better songwriting. I think that they are more personal and have more of a kind of purpose to them, and they have more to say, I think. But you can't deny that when you put on Pinkerton, you're not necessarily gonna finish that listening experience in a good mood. It's
and also you're not gonna feel like, in my opinion, those songs don't stick with you. You're not finding yourself humming them later on as much.
Yeah, you're not doing that as much. But this album, man, I fucking spammed this album when I discovered it for the first time. Like, absolutely spammed the shit out of this track list. The album opens up with my personal favorite track on the whole album, California Kids, which is, in my opinion, one of Weezer's best songs. It transitions fucking seamlessly into Wind in Our Sail, which is this really, really upbeat, very fun and happy like Weezer track. It's so killer and so fun. And that's just like, talk about starting your record off with a bang, dude. Like, it's fantastic.
It's funny because I have the opposite effect. I love California Kids, but in my opinion, the album actually starts off slow, and then all the bangers are at the end for me. I pretty much, as soon as you hit Do You Want to Get High, it's nothing but bangers, and then the album ends with my favorite Weezer song, Endless Bummer. Talk about the perfect closing track for my taste, because I'm a sucker for acoustic ballads, and especially acoustic ballads that end an album, but also an acoustic ballad that then turns into an epic rock out for the last minute is fucking fantastic. This album is the summer album. It is all about having fun, living your life, and then realizing you're making mistakes and going a little too far at times, and then finally wanting the summer to end. That's the entire album.
And like, that's not to say that they don't also try new things on it too. Like, this sound on the White Album is, I think, the most crisp rock sound that Weezer has ever sounded.
Yes.
Like, crisp, just so finely tuned, and like, just banger after banger after banger. You have like songs like Girl We Got a Good Thing that kind of take inspiration from that like Pet Sounds era of the Beach Boys, or like Summer Lane and Drunk Dory that I that are really fun and just like stupidly fun. But then you also have songs like King of the World, right? That are
Hmm.
kind of personal to Rivers, but are also really fun too. So it's like
Hmm.
you really are just having a great time throughout this whole record. And like I dare you guys, like going through this record, going through this discography, like this is going to be one of your favorites that's going to stand out just immediately.
Yeah.
Is this record? It is the safest guarantee of like, okay, if there's one album from this band, like if you're a kid, like, you know, my age or something,
Hmm.
you'll probably hear White Album on first listen and like it.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened with me. I listened to Blue first, then I listened to Pinkerton second, and then I listened to White because you told me it was the best one, and you also knew it would be my favorite because we have very
Yeah.
similar tastes. And so, yeah, immediately I was like, yeah, this is it. If this is the best new Weezer, if you take the sound of old Weezer and update it to the 2010s, you get this album, and it's flawless.
It's there's not a single skip on this record for me. I truly do think that this is a per your metric, Chris, it's a purple album for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess I would honestly say this is a 10 out of 10 album for me.
Yeah.
I I think that this is everything that I think a consistent, a focused album should be.
Yeah.
Is the White Album.
Without a doubt. And the reason behind that is they got a producer, Jake Sinclair, who has helped a lot of bands out. Like
Yeah,
he's very successful and he's relatively young too,
yeah,
music producer. But he was a self-proclaimed Weezer fan, and he said, "I want to get that old Weezer sound again, but update it." And the story is that while they were making this album, he and Rivers were always disagreeing on the sound to, which direction to go in with the sound. He always wanted to go into the older sound of Weezer and bring that back. Meanwhile, Rivers wanted to go in a more newer direction. And according to Rivers, Jake won for the most part on this album, which is why we ended up getting this. And
yeah.
didn't it win a Grammy, or it was nominated?
I think it was nominated.
Yeah, for best rock album.
Either way, I mean this. I think I've really done a lot of praising on this, but
Yeah.
really just check this album out. If you're gonna get anything out of this video, listen to this album.
Yeah.
Um,
For my last minute thing, so
oh yeah, no
the
problem.
album by itself, I'd give it a blue. It's almost a purple. It's already my third favorite album of all time. However, I do like to add in, just for fun, some of the B-sides because some of
Yes.
the B-sides of this album are absolute bangers. Like already I love the album. If I just add in a couple of these B tracks and especially put them in spots that I feel like they belong in, it's
Yeah.
amazing. The main two that I added, Friend of a Friend is my second favorite Weezer song of all time. And I like to insert that just somewhere early on because the early part of the album is my least favorite section. So I just like to insert that fucking banger right in the middle there. And I just think it's fantastic. I can understand why it wasn't put on the album because unfortunately the chorus sounds almost exactly like Summer Lane and Drunk Dory. But I don't give a fuck because I also love Summer Lane and Drunk Dory. So I'm like, I don't give a fuck. I love both of these songs. I'm putting it in there. I don't give a shit. And then, without a doubt, Last Days of Summer was absolutely meant as the penultimate song of the album because the last song is called Endless Bummer, which the main verses are I just want the summer to end. That he literally keeps saying that over and over again. Last Days of Summer is about summer about to end soon, and it kind of feels like, oh, we had a great time, but like holy shit, it's actually ending soon, and it ends with this rock out thing that's a lot shorter than Endless Bummer's rock out. So it's almost like this preview. It's a very short track, and it's like, oh shit, we rocked out for a second there. Where are we headed for this final song? Ooh, it's a low acoustic ballad. Okay. Now we're rocking out at the end. Like,
Absolutely.
I just love that up and down feeling whenever I listen to this album. When I insert that in there, I'm just like, fuck yeah. So,
It seriously is just a fantastic record, and
yeah.
I would recommend that you also check out the B sides too. And
Yeah.
I think at this point in the discography, things are looking really great for Weezer.
It's looking
They just
great
released
when
two great fucking albums.
Yep, when I add in those two B-sides, the album becomes a purple. It's just one of my favorites of all time. And so it's like, wow, Weezer had a downfall and now an uprise. And it's like, yo, Weezer's back. What do you got for us now, Rivers? 1 year later, 2017, Pacific Daydream.
Yes. Now, I'm gonna just be honest. This is my least favorite Weezer album, without a doubt. I think that this record is just so unbelievably tone deaf with being able to understand, like, this is literally every single aspect of the Weezer fan base complaining, every complaint, every grievance that a fan of Weezer could have, it's basically pre-packaged and is perfectly patented in this album.
Mm-hmm.
You have Feels Like Summer, which was, I'm pretty sure, the first single from this record. And that, so already it's like, okay, well, let's not give him a hard time yet. Then they released Mexican Fender, which I actually think is a good song. That's actually my favorite song on the record.
It is the only saving grace of this album. Mexican Fender is actually fantastic and should not be on here.
I think that's actually the first song I showed you by Weezer when I got you.
Maybe a fucking long time ago, yeah.
Yeah, was Mexican Fender. But that song is good, and honestly, guys, like, I don't have much else to say about this track listing because, truth be told, I fundamentally just do not listen to this album. Like, I do not like it. I think that it is so sad, especially in the context of the Weezer discography story arc, if you will.
Yeah, so the sound of this album is very pop, synthy, dance processed shit. It's barely rock anymore. And it's so jarring to go from a true Weezer album like White Album, and then a year later they go to this. And even worse also, it's another just album about summer. And it's like, you just did that and you did it amazingly, and now you're basically doing it again, but just terribly.
Yeah.
Like, everything, this album I do not hate. Again, it's an album that over time I've given it some forgiveness. I just re-listened to their entire discography for this podcast, so I have a very fresh take on the album. It is my second least favorite album, without a doubt. It belongs near the bottom, or at the bottom. If Mexican Fender wasn't in there, though, it probably would be my least favorite. The main thing is I found that there are no songs on here that piss me off anymore. A couple did before. Now, I definitely see a unified sound to it, and it's like, all right, you guys don't head into too much cringy territory. There is no Can't Stop Partying bullshit on here, at least, but it's just the sound you're going for. I can tell you want to do it maybe because you want to and not because you think it'll be popular or whatever. I don't know, but it's like, all right, I just don't like it, so it's like, fine. I give it a yellow, but it's like a very low yellow. It's definitely an album I never listen to. I never listen to the only two songs on here that I ever listen to is Mexican Fender all the fucking time, and then every now and then Any Friend of Diane's I'll pop on.
Yeah.
But that's it.
But that's all we pretty much have to say about that record. It's really not that good.
Considered one of the worst by the Weezer community, and it's like, what happened? What happened? What happened?
But, hopefully they'll get better, right?
Hopefully. I guess we'll talk about the one that's technically not a regular studio album, since they sort of treated it like it. It's because that came out next, right?
Okay, are we going to talk about the Teal?
Let's mention it real quick, just because you didn't mention the Africa cover early on.
Okay, I did. So we'll lightning around we'll lightning around the Teal album just because there really isn't much to say. It's a cover album. The one cover I do think is really good from the record, well, I guess two. I think Africa is fun, and then also the No Scrubs cover is just funny. I'm sorry, it's catchy and it's fucking hilarious that it's Rivers singing it.
Yeah. Like, this is the quintessential meme album. This is 2 years later in 2019. They released this fucking thing, and it's just covers of songs from the 80s, 70s. I think there's even one maybe from the 60s, and it's like every different genre possible, and they just have fun with it. And it's like, sometimes it works. I fucking love the Take On Me cover. Yeah. I think that actually works fantastically. I also really enjoy the Stand By Me closer. And then there's sometimes it doesn't work. Sweet Dreams Are Made of This, or Everybody Wants to Rule the World, or even Billie Jean, I don't really think work very well. And then something like No Scrubs is really funny, where it's like, holy shit, this is just so different. It's just kind of funny.
No, I completely agree. And there's really not much else to say about it.
I give it a yellow-green, but like a low yellow-green. It's like, all right, you guys had fun. So it's like, okay. But like, let's get back to your studio album. You probably have something cooking.
Yeah, you got something cooking, right? Like you have some extra time, but you're saving your real good stuff for the next album, right? Oh, and it's a colored album, the Black Album.
Black Album.
The Black Album is pretty bad.
It's my favorite. It's my least favorite Weezer album. I do not like it at all.
Now, I want to take the lead here for a sec because it seems like I like this a little bit more than you do.
Yeah.
Can't Knock the Hustle, I think, is actually a good song. I think that song for me, I I I think it's funny the way that Rivers is calling out the shit talkers and calling out all these people that dissed him and saying like, oh, like you should go back to making rock music and whatnot. And it's funny to make a song like this that's so sarcastic and fun like that, without being too petty. But I can see why people like you, I can see why you wouldn't like it, because it's not really the Weezer formula that we're used to.
Something that I really don't like. This is the first album where Rivers is just openly swearing.
Oh yeah, that's right.
He never swears in previous music. Can't Knock the Hustle, he says fuck several times, and I'm like,
yeah, then he says, don't step to me, bitch.
Yeah, I'm like, what? What are you doing?
It's pretty strange hearing him curse, but the next track on this record, Zombie Bastards, is similar to Can't Knock the Hustle as far as lyrical content, with kind of calling out haters and whatnot. Sure. Zombie Bastards, pretty fun song. I think it's a pretty good song. It's not something that I think is like, I think it says a lot that this is a standout on the record to me.
Sure, yeah.
But like, yeah, it's a fun song. It wouldn't hurt a fly. It's nice and casual. The next song, however, I really like. High as a Kite is, I think, everything. It seems like if we were to have like the poppy Weezer stuff that Rivers wanted at this point, like I would be okay with it if it sounded like High as a Kite. Like I love the way that song sounded. I loved what they were going with there. Unfortunately, though, at this point in the track listing, we have just reached the peak, because it is just a downward spiral from there of the most fucking bland, boring pop music. Like,
yeah, it's kind of Pacific Daydream Part 2.
Basically.
Zombie Bastards and High as a Kite are like greens for me. They're like, all right, I'll listen to them. I don't really care for Can't Knock the Hustle. The only minor saving grace on this album, the only song to me that's worth a damn, is The Prince Who Wanted Everything. And I kind of can't even explain why. But to me, that's sort of the pop sound that I would enjoy if Weezer did more like that. But also, I kind of just don't want them to. You got Too Many Thoughts in My Head and California Snow, I think, are just bad songs altogether. And when you have that, like, there's nothing on this album for me. There's really nothing, no reason for me to ever listen to it. It's just more of what I already didn't like. And to me, it's just worse. And I'm just like, I do not like this album. This is an orange. Why am I listening to this?
Yeah, no, I totally understand that. I think that it's definitely one of their worst as well. And we don't really need to keep talking about it, because there's really not much to talk about it.
That was released shortly after Teal. They released 2 albums in the same year. And at this point, you're really wondering again, like, wait, is Weezer done again? What is going on?
Like, literally, what the hell is going on? But thankfully, as of a week ago, and I don't really like dating videos, but as of about a week ago, we have now gotten a new Weezer record. Weezered.
Dude, I'm so fucking Weezered right now.
I'm Weezered right now. But no, we got OK Human. And this was an album that was produced by the aforementioned producer, Jake Sinclair, who did the White Album. Yep. And instead of giving that summery, fun rock sound, they decided to go in a kind of Baroque pop direction, where they used analog technology to record and to produce this record. So no electric guitar. It's mostly strings, acoustics, piano, stuff like that.
Completely different, but not in the popular route of doing what everyone else is doing, hip hop, pop bullshit. It's a direction no one ever goes in.
So this record has been out for a week, and I think I can confidently say, honest to God, that this is one of Weezer's most consistent albums.
I really enjoy this album.
This album, it's 30 minutes. It's a very quick listen, but it just doesn't waste your time. It does not. even the low moments, which by the way, I don't actually think that there's even a like mediocre song on
Nope.
this album.
Every song on this
Like,
album is consistently good.
and I think
You have
the
great songs.
even when you have like the songwriting that's kind of like subpar at some points, it's always saved by the production, the strings, the ideas, everything that's going on musically. That's what's really keeping you, and that's what's really keeping your attention. And there are so many standouts for me on this record. I think we both can agree that the first single, "All My Favorite Songs," is really fun.
That's a fantastic start to the album.
Yeah, fantastic start to the album. I love the sounds. I love the instrumentation. If it's one gripe I am going to say with this song, I think that the lyrics are a little bit too cookie cutter in the sense of they're trying to relate to the widest possible.
Sure. It's interesting because there is inspiration from the Beatles on this album, especially with a song called Here Comes the Rain for Here Comes the Sun. And what's interesting is when you look back on some of the older Beatles songs and you look at their lyrics, very often lyrics are actually very simplistic. And that's almost maybe why they've stuck with people for so long. And I almost get the feeling that this album will have a similar effect where, yeah, the lyrics are pretty basic and very elementary, but years from now, I think it's just going to stick with you and it's just going to feel very like innocent and fun and classic. And it's just going to be special.
And in a way, OK Human is also, it's a concept album because it has a lot of themes that deal with the idea of social isolation and stuff during quarantine. And that's not to say that this album can't be enjoyed outside of the quarantine context.
No, definitely.
I think it's heightened by it slightly.
Definitely,
And I think this album really ran the risk of being kind of that out of touch stuff that like imagine this theme with the production of the Black Album. Imagine of everyone stares at screens oh, I'm so lonely, oh, I'm so into this Audible book.
All my favorite songs are slow and sad.
No, you can't do it.
Cute.
Exactly. You can't I love the way that they did it and the way that they handled it. So I think that this sound really worked for Rivers' songwriting and whatnot. My three favorite tracks on this thing are just like I mentioned before, all my favorite songs. Alu Gobi. I think that is a really fun.
The album starts off fucking strong. Almost all the songs connect together, like they naturally just go into the next one. And the first four just flawlessly, seamlessly connect together as one big thing, and all of them are fantastic.
Yes, absolutely. Like Alu Gobi, as I just said, one of my favorites. Transitions into Grapes of Wrath, which is, I guess, like the Weezer Audible sponsorship.
Yeah.
But no, fantastic song. I've noticed that it's really been getting up on the charts on Spotify too, so hopefully that gives the band a bit more exposure because this album really is, I think, something special and something that people should give a chance. Numbers, though.
Yeah.
Fourth track on this album. Without a doubt, my favorite song on this album. Gotcha. It is so intimate. It is so fucking beautiful. Just when I think of the OK Human production working well and completely elevating what the lyrics, it's goddamn. Like
every time he sings just call on me and tell me what you need, like I feel it. I'm like, damn, I will.
I will. It's a fantastic song. I seriously could see this being one of my favorite Weezer songs, given some more time to let it settle. And obviously this is just our reactions after a week, so
and then for me personally, all my favorite songs is my second favorite song. Numbers would be my third favorite. Definitely my favorite is Here Comes the Rain. That song is just so fun and uplifting. It just puts me in such a great mood, and I'm like, yay!
It's fun. It's got that classic kind of power pop vibe that we've all come to expect of Weezer, and that's just it's really fantastic the work that they did on it because
they nailed it
fun.
with OK Human.
And you also, everyone, you have not lived until you have driven around in the rain while listening to OK Human.
Yeah.
It's just a beautiful experience. That's all I'll say. And I do want to also shout out two other tracks on here. Bird with the Broken Wing, I think, is really kind of cinematic and cool.
Mm-hmm.
I think that I really like what they had going there. But one thing that I think it is kind of overlooked and is, in my personal opinion, the most underrated track on the whole record is the track Mirror Image, which is this kind of interlude-ish type thing. It's only like a minute and a half long, but there's a lyric on this record, or there's a lyric on this song that I think is by far the best line on the entire album.
Yeah.
That says, "She is my mirror image, showing me who I am. Until the day that we shatter, she helps me understand." That's like some of that Pinkerton, some of that blues, some of that really good river songwriting where I'm like, I love that shit. I know you have this in you, dude. Like,
yeah. And I love the way that song ends, because it ends with like 30 seconds of just Rivers at a piano, and it almost sounds like he's trying to figure out the lyric, but also it sounds like, you know, almost like the narrator of that song realizing it, like, oh shit, you know, heaven really has turned its back on me. Because the lyric is something like, heaven has like forgotten this man, heaven has turned its back on this man, heaven can't save this man. He just sings like different variations of the same lyric, but it like, there's no like BPM or anything. It's just like it pauses, then he's like, heaven turns its back on this man, and he like keeps trying until finally
it's
lets it
recorded
rest.
with this kind of like low fidelity. It's almost like an iPhone recording.
Yeah, like someone was recording in the back of the room, just like, oh, he's practicing the song, I'll record him real quick. And it just like, it has a very personal feel to it, and that's something that I think is really great about this album, is it definitely feels very personal.
Yes,
you connect to it a lot. Honestly, one that's been rising up on the tracks for me that I hear no one ever talk about, Dead Roses. Dead Roses is kind of cool.
Oh, you know, yeah, it has that kind of gothic.
Yeah, it sounds like I'm in like a haunted castle. Like,
it really is cool. I think that's like one of the stronger, like of like, I guess, the greens, so to speak, that we have on the record. That's one of the stronger ones for sure.
Yeah. And it's like a story, because I guess maybe a weakness is a lot of these songs sound like just a day in the life of Rivers, you know, pre and during pandemic. But then Dead Roses is like a story, like someone in a castle with like, you know, there's like a monster there and shit. And it's like, whoa, okay, all right, we're going in a different direction here. And I don't know, it's like gives me a spooky vibe. So Dead Roses has been rising up there for me.
The only complaint I have about this album, and it's honestly like, it's kind of even a nitpick at a point, like, is that maybe it doesn't end on as high of a note as I think it should have. Because, you know, at this point, the album has just been consistent and amazing and fucking wonderful. But it kind of ends on not a bad note. Like, it's a good song. La Brea Tar Pits is a really good song, but it's not, you know, it's not Endless Bummer. It's not Only in Dreams. It's not Butterfly. It's not the Future Scope. It's just, it kind of, like, I would say of like the 5 core Weezer albums, so to speak, I would say that this is the weakest opener, or the weakest closer.
Yeah, Here Comes the Rain definitely would have been a better closer. Or, I mean, if you were to really swap things around, a lot of people have been saying Numbers would have been a really good closer.
Yeah, that's a really interesting.
Yeah, La Brea Tar Pits, I looked up the meaning behind the song, and the meaning behind it definitely fits very well as a closing song, because it's basically, he imagines that he is sinking in the La Brea Tar Pits. He's singing, but no one is helping him out. Almost like as an artist, he feels like he's already given everything that he can to the world, and so he's just slowly sinking away, and no one is going to help him. So, like, that theme is like, oh, that's really powerful and intense. I could definitely see that as, like, being a really sad way to close the album. And apparently, also, the instrumentals that end that song, you can hear very muted underneath the opening chords from Sweater Song. You can hear it very.
Oh, right.
So that reflects that feeling of like he feels like he's already given what he can to the world. So end with one of their most famous songs that was on their very first album. So it ends on a very melancholy note of like, oh god damn, that's really sad. So it's like the meaning is there. I just think as a whole, the feeling and just the catchiness of the song, everything about it, like it just doesn't stick as well with me. So I would rather it have been something else.
I agree. I think that it could have been a little bit more climactic.
Yeah.
And really, that's all I have to say about the record is fantastic.
It is fantastic. It is the whole reason we recorded this podcast in the first place, because we've been looking forward to this album for a long time. And that's interesting, where everyone keeps saying this is the COVID album, the pandemic album, but they were working on this before the pandemic ever
Yeah,
happened.
it's almost like they
So
kind of repurposed it to fit the lens, or at least they
sure.
kind of brought a part of it into it.
Yeah, there's only a couple songs on here I think that actually have to do with specifically pandemic stuff. Like the Zoom interview, he mentions that at
Yeah,
one point. But like as a whole, like this album really to me just is isolation the album. Like if it's ever winter, I mean it's winter right now, but you know, whenever it hits winter time and there's snow outside and you're trapped inside and you can't see anyone, you feel alone, that's what this album is for.
yes, absolutely. I would highly recommend that people give this a chance. And yeah, I mean,
It's one of their
like
most complete
I
packages. Cyan album for me.
that leaves us to today, where we are anticipating Van Weezer. The first
Hmm.
three singles have been very good. Um,
Yes.
I maybe we'll even talk about Van Weezer when that comes out. I have no
We
idea.
might.
But real quick before we wrap up here, I
Mhm.
want us to go through how we would rank the albums.
All right. Of the I also add in Death to False Metal, which is their B-sides album.
Okay.
Not much to mention.
I didn't. So
Yeah, ironically, it's kind of funny because Weezer, like we were saying throughout this podcast, they have a lot of amazing B tracks. So and very often bands I think have very underrated, awesome B-side compilation albums. But not for Weezer. They didn't really give a whole lot on this album, so that's just a yellow for me. Nothing much to talk about with it.
yeah. Yeah, that's
All right.
I completely agree.
All
So
right. So
I'll,
bottom.
I'll go first real quick.
Okay.
Number 14, we got Ratitude. Ratitude. Oh, actually,
You did
you know what?
say
You know what? No, you know what? You know what? Pacific Daydream.
All
Pacific
right.
Daydream 14. Sorry guys. Sorry for the confusion. Pacific Daydream number 14. Number 13, Ratitude.
Whoa.
Number
Okay. That's surprising.
number 12. Number 12, the Teal album.
Oh
Number
wow! Beneath the Black album and Make
Yeah.
Believe.
Yeah. Cause I just never go back to this fucking thing. Like I never ever go. I go back to High as a Kite. I go back to Can't Knock the Hustle. Then again, it's still number 11. Number 10, the Green album. Like I said, just
Okay, Beneath. Wow.
okay. Green
Wow.
album. Then Make Believe, which
Okay.
actually, like those are pretty interchangeable.
Interesting. Wow.
Those
Okay.
those are pretty interchangeable. You're not gonna like this. The Red album at number 8.
It's okay.
Although that's the original. I'm not counter.
Yeah.
That's the original track listing. Number 7, Maladroit.
Yeah.
Number 6, Hurley.
Yep.
Number 5, Everything Will Be All Right in the End.
Hmm.
All right, now guys, this is where it's going to get controversial.
These are the bangers.
I would like to reference what I said before in the video, that this isn't necessarily what I'm saying is this is the better album,
Hmm.
but if we're going what I'm listening to more and more, number 4 is the Blue album.
Hmm.
Number 3 is OK Human.
Hmm.
Number 2 is Pinkerton.
Okay.
And number 1 is the White album. Now, I've probably completely destroyed all credibility of myself as a Weezer fan right now for putting it in that order. But I just got to be honest, guys. Like, I come back to the White album more than I come back to Pinkerton. I
Yeah.
come back to OK Human more than I come back to Blue. At least at this point in my life. Like, I'm not saying that, I spammed the shit out of Blue when I first heard it, but like,
Yeah.
I am loving OK Human. I'm
Yeah.
loving this record.
Hmm. I think because it's interesting, like people who gatekeep or people who have
Yeah.
very strong opinions on an artist. It's always this weird balance where you have the people that love something because of the meaning behind it, which is all Pinkerton pretty much. Like the concept and the story and the meaning behind that album is the main reason that people love it, and I totally understand that. And then you have more casual listeners that really are just looking for something fun and simple. And there are people out there who like Pacific Daydream, who like on the Weezer subreddit, I've been seeing people saying, I think people are gonna turn back on this album later on and learn to appreciate it for what it is. And it's like, I personally don't see that happening.
I just think it's gonna always be looked at with the lens of, you made White and Everything Will Be All Right in the End, and then that, like,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah, and so that's the thing where it's like other people just want something fun and catchy. They don't care about the meaning. And then you have a middle ground where you have a balance of it. And I feel like we fall more under that category. I feel like very often I
Yeah.
find myself teetering a little more this way where I need it to be more fun and catchy, something that sticks in my head. I need something to sing to. So I tend to steer a little bit away from more of just like the okay, it doesn't sound very good, but the meaning behind it, dude, it's like,
Oh yeah.
it's tough. So that's also another thing where I feel like, everyone just always keeps saying like, oh, it's Blue Album, Pinkerton, and that's it. That nothing's ever going to stack up to it. And, no matter how hard they try, no one's ever going to change their mind. And it's like, that's so sad to like believe in. If you love an artist, if you love Rivers and you love Weezer, you should give them a chance when they release a new album. You should give them a chance to surprise you. You can't just always hold it against them of sorry, oh, that's definitely their third best now because nothing's ever going to be Blue and Pinkerton. It's like, come on, you got to give them a chance.
Yeah, so. and once again, like I will concede that Pinkerton is much more personal, much more like meaningful in the grand scheme of who this person was, like in their identity and their identity.
You still have it as your second favorite.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's like, yeah, that's how I see it. And I'd like to now hear your rankings.
All right, number 15, Black Album. My only orange. I do not like this album. Throw it away. Number 14, Pacific Daydream. Literally just a slightly better version of the Black Album. Throw it away. Wasted time. Don't know why. The story of why that album happened is because, like I said, remember how with the White Album, Rivers and Jake Sinclair were always arguing where to go, and Jake won. Rivers then, on purpose, didn't work with Jake on the next album, and he said, I'm going to win this time. And they were working on the Black Album. So they worked on the Black Album, but they had a separate folder where they would put in a bunch of other stuff that maybe didn't quite fit on the Black Album, but they still liked. And soon that other folder grew, and they ended up focusing on that even more. So then they went, fuck it, let's just make this into an album real quick, which is what Pacific Daydream was. So that's why we ended up getting two albums that sound very similar back to back. And even though people didn't like Pacific Daydream, they still released Black Album anyway. So that's the story with that. And then, of course, thank God, Rivers realized maybe Jake is a cool homie, so we brought him back for OK Human.
And I believe that Jake is going to be collaborating on more projects.
That'll be awesome. I'm very excited.
I'm very excited because he knows what he's doing here.
Yep. Number 13 is Death to False Metal, their B-Sides album. Not much really on there. Nothing too offensive. There's one song that sucks on there called Everyone. I don't like that song, but other than that, nothing much. Number 12, Ratitude. If you're wondering if I Want You To wasn't on that album, it would be lower. But like I said, Ratitude and Pacific Daydream at least have two blues songs on their album, so there's something that I will actually listen to. Then after that, we get to sort of the okay albums. Make Believe, I think, is all right at number 11. Definitely could have been a lot better. It could have been a lot worse as well, but it's been growing on me over time. Number 10, the Teal album. Nothing offensive, and I love Take On Me. I'll listen to that all the time. So overall, it's like a really jokey, like kind of pointless album, but it's like, all right, doesn't piss me off. So yeah, number 10. Number 9, Maladroit. Something that I just haven't really attached to too much. I know a lot of people really like this one. It's just something that hasn't really stuck with me for the most part. But again, still has the opening track, American Gigolo, which is a blue for me. So it's like most of the time, Weezer will have a banger on an album at least. Something that'll stick with me, and I appreciate that. Absolutely. Number 8, Hurley. Hurley is a step in the right direction, and that's really the only reason I remember it. I don't really listen to the album a whole lot, but every time I find myself listening to it, I'm like, it's not bad. It's not bad. Now, the good albums. Number 7, the Green Album. Something that I really liked early on, but over time it has gone down just because, there's not much to it other than just it's fun and simple. But I definitely will want to listen to this album more than any of the albums beneath it. I enjoy it overall. Now, here's where I would put the original Red Album would be at number 6 or... Red Album would be at number 6 at this spot because I legitimately think it's underrated. I think there are too many bangers on that album to let those 3 oranges ruin it. Those 3 songs are not good, but I'm not going to let them ruin the legacy of Troublemaker and The Greatest Man That Ever Lived and The Angel and the One. Like, come on.
Yeah,
that's true. They're so great.
That's true.
But I have my own edited version of the album, so it's not at number 6. Instead, Everything Will Be Alright in the End is at number 6. Again, a great album, great complete package. Only weakness is there's nothing that fully stands out for me other than the Future Scope trilogy. So really, that's an album that I find myself just listening to it in its entirety, and that's it. I never find myself listening to like single songs from it. Now the bangers. These next three are so close together, and they're just shifting around all the time, but I gotta be controversial. Number 5 is the Blue Album. Great, fantastic debut album.
Damn.
Plenty of great songs on it. My only weakness is, in my opinion, as a complete package, it doesn't stack up to the albums above it. I think Blue Album, I will find myself listening to just the songs themselves instead of the album as a whole, usually.
Yeah, usually me too.
And then also maybe there's just a weakness where all of the singles on that album are among my least favorite songs on the album, actually. I've heard Buddy Holly too much. Sweater Song, I don't love it too much. Say It Ain't So, I've heard too much, which that's just a byproduct of the radio. And
it makes sense.
But yeah, either way, I still really enjoy the Blue Album a lot. Number 4 is Pinkerton. So you can crucify me now. But Pinkerton is great. It's great. It is definitely a complete package and one that I will love listening to it in its entirety because it begins and ends fucking greatly. And then especially once I get to add in my 2 songs of fucking Long Time Sunshine and
Your Love to Me Softly.
Yeah, that one.
I didn't even fucking say it right.
Yeah, okay. And then I like the album a lot. And yes, it is too abrasive for me to put it any higher. Because definitely it's more of an album that I want to listen to put myself in a mood more than to rock out and have fun, I guess.
Yeah.
But fair. I absolutely appreciate the shit out of the album and applaud Rivers for being ballsy enough to release something like that. And I totally relate to that crushing feeling that he still feels to this day of he poured his heart out and everyone hated it. And now he just doesn't know how to live up to that. I feel bad for that. In my opinion, I think he has beaten it a couple times. But people don't think that. People just say Pinkerton is top and that's it.
Yeah.
Damn. Number 3 is OK Human. OK Human, fucking great. Yep. Just great album. That's a complete package I love listening to. I can just put it on. I could be doing anything. It's weird because rock is like my favorite kind of rock is stuff that I can sing along to, stuff that captures my attention. OK Human both does that, but is also something very relaxing that I can play in the background while I'm doing something else. It's just like a mood elevator for me.
Yeah, man. Like fundamentally, dude, like I have no idea like how Van Weezer is going to stack up to this. Like,
so far the 3 singles are great and it's it's just like rock, like very classic rock. So it's going to be different and hey, maybe we'll get something like the White Album where it's like on the surface what about the White Album would have made it so amazing, but then when you listen to the whole thing you're like holy fucking shit, that was fucking amazing,
Exactly. Yeah. It could be fun. It could be a lot of fun.
It could be a lot of fun. I just want it to be in the same category as Blue Album, Pinkerton, OK Human, all that. I just need more of that,
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
And then my personal number 2 is my edited version of the Red Album. Once you remove those 3 stinkers and you add in 3 B-sides that they made themselves, you have a great fucking album. Almost no weaknesses whatsoever. Consistently great. I applaud the experimentation on the album. I think for the most part the experimentation works and it's great and awesome. And then of course, without a doubt, my number 1 favorite is the White Album. It's just fucking fantastic. Everything that I love, pretty much.
Absolutely fantastic stuff. And I mean, I think we've covered pretty much everything that needs to be said. Like we said, just really, if you at all are interested in this kind of music and this kind of sound, highly recommend that you check out Weezer. And you start off with the Blue Album, then go to Pinkerton probably, then White, then honestly, dude, go to OK Human.
You could go to OK Human. I mean, honestly, ignoring all of the bad albums, I think Everything Will Be Right in the End or Green Album to me are natural continuations after you finish the main three.
Yeah.
But yeah, OK Human would definitely be one that you would listen to like, all right, time for a departure, because it's funny, even though everything about it isn't Weezer, it's still Weezer.
Definitely.
Like it is a Weezer album through and through, but it is far and away the most different thing they've ever done, and it just fucking works. And I always wonder what makes it work. Why is it when an artist deviates from their formula, sometimes it sucks, and other times it's amazing? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know what decides that.
At the end of the day, though, guys, like, it sounds daunting to go through all these albums, you know. And
oh yeah, there's a lot.
There's a lot of stuff, but I really encourage you to at least check out like the real core ones, because there really is, I think, a lot going for it. And I think just the amount of content also that Weezer has to their name, I think is really impressive in its own right, and a lot of it is pretty good. So
yeah, 14 studio albums over the course of 27 years.
Yeah, exactly. Just by God.
Yeah, they go off.
Go off, Weezer.
Yep. Well, that is it for our full review of every Weezer album. We hope that you are now inspired to check out Weezer at least a little bit. Try and check out some of the songs that you haven't heard from them, because guaranteed you're going to find ones that you love even more than the singles that you've heard a million times over. And yeah.
Absolutely, guys. Take care. Thank you.
Care. Thank you for joining me, Spencer. This was a fun journey that we went on.
No problem. I appreciate it. I love talking about Weezer.